March Madness is the best tournament of all time, with 68 schools battling against each other for the shot at the championship. This single elimination tournament has upsets, buzzer beaters, and madness. So let's explore the 2024 NCAA tournament. But before we do anything, we have to look at the first four, the money grab round. Wagner and Grambling State advanced as 16 seeds, and Colorado State and Colorado moved on as 11 seeds. Now let's begin. We start in the East, where the number 1 overall seed UConn rolls over Stetson. They faced Northwestern. Northwestern found themselves down late to FAU, a school who made the Final Four last year. But the Wildcats tied the game and couldn't miss a shot in overtime, knocking off the 8 seed Florida Atlantic. Then San Diego State held off a UAB upset, but Auburn couldn't do the same. The 4 seed Tigers, straight off of an SEC title, were considered the top pick to take down the number 1 seed UConn. Instead, they couldn't even get out of the first round. Auburn faced Yale of the Ivy League, a group of white pre-med students who just happened to play basketball. The game was tight, but it seemed about over when Auburn got up by 10 with 7 minutes left. But then, Yale slowly started to chip away from the lead, led by John Poulakidis' 28 points, who hit a 3 to take the lead.
Poulakidis, he's got a new career high! Oh, he's on fire!
It's not looking too good for Auburn, so now they gotta score here if they want to stay alive.
This is a bomb front end. Broom has it, puts it up. Williams there, rejected by Hamilton. Johnson for the win. Not there. Yale riding the march. Magic high once again.
Auburn had plenty of chances to win this game, but with missed free throws, turnovers, and 25 fouls, the Tigers just got bounced by Yale. Next, the 11 seed Duquesne came out of nowhere and played down to the wire with BYU. Despite this being Duquesne's coach Keith Dambrot's final year before retirement, they held off BYU to win their first tournament game in 55 years. Duquesne faces a 3 seed Illinois after a big win over Morehead State. Washington State barely escaped past the Drake Bulldogs, and Iowa State dominated as a 2 seed. And that'll end the East. One seed North Carolina destroys Wagner, and coach Tom Izzo and Michigan State beat Mississippi State in the 9-8 matchup. The 12 seed Grand Canyon won their first ever NCAA tournament game in an upset win over St. Mary's. With GCU's explosive dunks and fast pace, they're a Cinderella school to watch out for. They face Alabama next, who dropped 109 points on Charleston. 6 seed Clemson beat the Lobos pretty easily, and Baylor also breezed past Colgate. 7 seed Dayton somehow came back from down 17 points late in the game to beat Nevada 63-60. But they're gonna have to match up against a tough Arizona team. Now on to the South. Houston took care of business as a 1 seed, but the next round won't be easy, because 9 seed Texas A&M sent Nebraska packing after dropping 98 points. Meanwhile, James Madison is riding a 14-game winning streak with momentum on their side. JMU opened the season with a surprise win at Michigan State, and also shocked another Big Ten school in the tourney. In their first round matchup, JMU's defense forced Wisconsin to shoot 26%, and dominated the Badgers the entire game. And with that, the 12 seed moves on. Facing them is Duke, the 4 seed who crushed Vermont. 11 seed NC State stayed red hot after their ACC title win, and they pulled away in the second half to beat Texas Tech. And it looks like they'll be playing Kentucky. However, it seems like John Calipari and the Wildcats have been trending in the wrong direction in recent years. They lost to St. Peter's as a 2 seed a couple years back, and then last year in the second round. As a blue blood school, there are expectations, and you have to be able to take care of who's ahead of you. Like Oakland. Yeah, this should be a breeze. Oakland's a 14 seed from the Horizon League, led by a guy named Jack Golke. This dude is very one-dimensional. He only shoots threes. Before this, he's attempted just 8 two-point shots this entire season. He really just shoots threes, and he went off in the first half, hitting 7 triples to take a 38-35 lead. But Kentucky's gonna come back, of course they will. They're a powerhouse school with tons of stars that will likely make the NBA. The 3-seeded Wildcats have Final Four expectations. They're not gonna lose to Oakland. Maybe try defending Golke cause all he does is shoot threes. Or not, cause the 14 seed still controlled the game thanks to some more triples. Meanwhile, Kentucky's offense has been sputtering more than they're used to. The Wildcats cut the deficit to 1, but it might have been too late.
Watts, out to Cole, corner 3! Oh, my goodness! Nope. Reeves puts up a 3, no good! And Oakland with a March memory of a lifetime!
With that, the 3-seed Kentucky is knocked out in the first round. Again. This loss questions Coach John Calipari and what his future will be with the team. But let's head to the next game, where another wild finish happened in the South. Colorado and Florida faced in a shootout until it seemed like the Buffaloes ran away with it. The 10 seed was up by 8 points with 2 minutes left, but a couple threes and lucky moments helped Florida knot it up. Tied at 100 with 6 seconds left.
Williams to inbound. Simpson with it for the lead. 1.7, 1.7. Long shot, good as it goes. Colorado wins. The Buffaloes have won.
KJ Simpson's game winner helped Colorado upset Florida as a 10 seed. However, 2-seed Marquette is next on the schedule after a big win. Purdue didn't screw up this year by losing as a 1 seed in the first round, and beat Grambling State pretty easily. Then Utah State pulled off a good win over TCU to snap their 10-game tournament losing streak. McNeese, with 30 wins, was a popular upset pick which many people chose to beat Gonzaga. Instead, the Bulldogs smoked him. However, it seemed like the 4-seed Kansas would become the real victim of the upset. The Jayhawks saw their 22-point lead drop all the way down to 1 against the 13-seed Samford. It seemed like Samford might pull off with the upset until this happened.
90-89. Kansas gets the ball in. Ahead to Timberlake on the run. It's a block. And he missed the shot. Did they call a foul? He went for the jam.
After replay, this was a clean block. Samford could have had the ball with a chance to win, but Kansas instead slips away with the victory. But not all upsets were avoided in the Midwest. Jermaine Couisnard faced his old school, South Carolina, and dropped 40 points. Oregon pulled off an 11-seed win, and all Pac-12 schools won the first round. Oregon faces 3-seed Creighton, who beat Akron. Texas beat Colorado State in a low-scoring affair, and Tennessee won big against St. Peter's to end the first round. Half the teams are gone, 31 more to go. The second round was pretty straightforward. The defending champs UConn had no problem, steamrolling Northwestern. The same went for San Diego State, who smoked Yale by 28. With that, San Diego State and UConn are matched up in a rematch of last year's championship. The Cinderella schools really had no luck this round, since 11-seed Duquesne got rolled by Illinois. Facing them will be the 2-seed Iowa State, who beat Washington State after a slow start. After that, top-seed North Carolina put away Tom Izzo and Michigan State in an 85-69 win. They'll play the winner of Alabama and Grand Canyon. Bama and GCU are both known as athletic, high-scoring teams with no defense. But instead of a high-scoring game, the schools faced in a physical dogfight. with bad shooting, high turnovers, and lots of free throws. The game was close until Bama ran away with it at the end, knocking off the Grand Canyon Lopes. Also in the West, 6th seed Clemson squeaked past Baylor to advance to the Sweet 16. They will have to meet Arizona there, who beat Dayton. Houston is a school that has never won a championship. Despite having great teams with players like Hakeem Olajuwon, they've never been able to pull it off. Last year seemed like they had a good shot, but the Cougars were stunned in the Sweet 16 by Miami. However, Houston came back this year as a 1 seed again, with Emmanuel Sharp, Jamal Shead, and coach Kelvin Sampson. It was looking like Houston was gonna advance to the Sweet 16 again in their game against Texas A&M. Although the game had been physical and close, Houston was up by 12 with 2 minutes left.
Taylor with a quick hitter. He's gonna fire! Oh! Buries it! Race to that corner. Radford, the inbounder, looking. The bounce. Garcia.
After one of the craziest comebacks in recent memory, Garcia sent the game to overtime with a buzzer beater. It seemed like Houston would choke this game away in yet another disappointing season. But instead, their defense made some key stops in overtime and Jamal Shead took over. And the Cougars barely escaped this one with a W. But there's no breathing room for Houston though, cause Duke, off of a dominating win, is next on the schedule. 2 double-digit seeds faced in the South, Oakland and NC State. These two were competitive during the first 40 minutes of play, where Oakland was being powered by their threes, and the 6'9", 275-pound big man DJ Burns was scoring for NC State. This game went into overtime, where the Wolfpack hit a dagger 3. NC State now moves on to the Sweet 16 as an 11 seed. Next, they're gonna have to face the 2 seed Marquette, who squeaked past Colorado. Now let's enter the Midwest. The 1 seed Purdue has a history of getting knocked off early with talented rosters. And with this year likely being the National Player of the Year, Zach Edey's final year at Purdue, their time to win the tournament is now. In the second round, Zach Edey put up 23 points and 14 rebounds in a domination of Utah State. But their next opponent won't be easy, because the 5 seed Gonzaga just destroyed a tough Kansas team. With that, the Bulldogs just reached 9 straight Sweet 16s. Next up is the 11 seed Oregon, who's trying to make another wild upset. And Folly Dante and Jermaine Couisnard together scored 60 of Oregon's 73 points. And they kept Oregon neck to neck with Creighton despite shooting basically no free throws the entire game. And it seemed like the Ducks would pull off the upset after going up by 4 with less than a minute left.
Ashworth over to Shireman. Shireman, step back jumper. We are tied! 4 seconds left. Couisnard drives, puts it up. No good! And for the second time tonight in Pittsburgh, we're going to overtime! 1 minute to go. Alexander, what a move. And he hits. Tracy nearly lost it. 20 seconds left. Couisnard puts up a 3. Wow. Timeout, Oregon.
Despite this game going to double overtime, Creighton took full advantage of an exhausted Oregon team and knocked them out. And with that loss, just one Cinderella team is left in the Sweet 16, and that is NC State. Anyway, facing Creighton next round will be the 2 seed Tennessee. Despite the Volunteers shooting 3 for 25 from 3, their defense helped them squeak past Texas. Now let's head to the Sweet 16. San Diego State came out with revenge against the defending champs UConn, but that, well, just turned into another blowout. While UConn is unstoppable, Illinois and Iowa State are setting up for one of the best matches of the Sweet 16. With Iowa State having the best defense in the country, Illinois had to answer back with their own tough defense. Overall, both teams were held to poor shooting and high turnovers. Terrence Shannon was really Illinois' only spark on offense. He dropped 20 in the first half and helped them keep the lead for the whole game. Late in the game when Iowa State tried to come back, Shannon stole the ball and sealed the dub. The Illini beat a tough 2 seed and are now headed to the Elite 8 for the first time since '05. Next up is Alabama versus North Carolina. The first half was pretty back and forth, but North Carolina held the lead up by 8. Overall, North Carolina is the better team, with stars like RJ Davis, Bacot, and Ingram leading the Tar Heels. But you can't underestimate Alabama. Even though they have no defense, Bama has one of the fastest and highest scoring offenses in the league. Bama's offense started to gain momentum in the second, and UNC had no answer for it. After a Sam Walters 3, the Tide took the lead. But that wouldn't last long, cause North Carolina would take back the lead with Bama close on their tail. After North Carolina went on an 8-0 run, it seemed like they had it in the bag. But out of nowhere, the Tide came back.
To put him up 3, and he missed it. And it's Nelson got the block! Game over! Alabama! The Sweet 16 is no longer sour!
Just like that, the first #1 seed is eliminated. Another upset went down in the next game, where Clemson took down the 2 seed Arizona, who had a horrible shooting night. Now, the Tigers are in their first Elite 8 since 1980. Meanwhile, Houston has to play a tough game versus Duke, but it looks like they're off to a good start. With Jamal Shead, Houston's best player, rolling his ankle, the entire momentum shifted. Kyle Filipowski and Duke took the lead and never looked back. Without Shead, Houston still attacked Duke with a physical defense, but the Blue Devils held him off to win 54-51. The top seed Houston had an overall great season with 30 wins and an all-star in Shead, but this march comes to an end with yet another disappointing early exit. The same can be said for 2 seed Marquette, who shot poorly in a loss to NC State. The 11 seed NC State might be having one of the craziest Cinderella runs of the year. The Wolfpack went from missing the tournament to winning 8 straight elimination games to reach the Elite 8. And they didn't have it easy either. NC State had to beat Duke, North Carolina, Texas Tech, Oakland, and now Marquette. And this run would have never happened if they didn't hit that shot against Virginia.
4 seconds. O'Connell gets it off. And Michael O'Connell banks in a prayer to send this game to overtime.
On the 50th anniversary of NC State's magical championship run, DJ Burns and the Wolfpack find themselves on another crazy run, and next up is Duke. In the Midwest, Zach Edey scored 27 points to help Purdue pull away from Gonzaga. They faced a 2 seed Tennessee, who played a solid game in a win over Creighton. With that, let's head to the Elite 8. UConn is facing their hardest opponent yet, Illinois. Big Ten champion, top 10 team in the nation with a star in Terrence Shannon. What happened? They got blown out. A 30-0 run by UConn helped send them to the Final Four. UConn's gonna have to meet Alabama there in Phoenix. In their game against Clemson, Bama hit 16 threes, which helped them advance to their first Final Four in program history. After that, NC State stunned their in-state rival Duke to continue their Cinderella run. Big man DJ Burns was cooking up the Blue Devils with 29 points, and the 11th seed is in the Final Four for the first time in 40 years. Finally, Purdue and Tennessee faced in a close, scrappy game that came down to the wire. But 7'4" star Zach Edey scored a career-high 40 points and got a crucial block to knock off Tennessee. Purdue is now headed to their first Final Four since 1980. We're finally at the end of our journey, at the Final Four in Phoenix. and the first few games pretty much went as expected. Alabama was the only team so far that put up a fight against UConn, but Klingon dominated late in the game to send the #1 overall Huskies to the championship game. Meeting them is the second best overall team this year, Purdue. If you remember, Virginia was once a 1 seed who lost in the first round to a 16 seed. However, that embarrassing loss was followed up by winning the title next year. Zach Edey and Purdue became the second ever 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed after being stunned by Fairleigh Dickinson. Losing to FDU basically cemented Purdue as chokers, since they had lost in their 3rd straight year to a double-digit seed. But just like Virginia, Purdue redeemed themselves the next year. They could have lost in the Final Four to NC State, another double-digit seed. But Purdue held NC State to poor shooting to send them to the championship game. NC State and Bama had great runs that just came up short. But more importantly, the title game is now set. The best 2 teams all year long, UConn, with Coach Dan Hurley trying to two-peat, and Purdue, with Zach Edey attempting to win their first championship in program history. In the first half of this game, Purdue and UConn were very competitive. But like what they'd done all tournament, UConn started to pull away. Coach Dan Hurley made the halftime change to guard the 3 while also maintaining Zach Edey defensively. They forced Purdue, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league, to shoot 1 for 7 from 3. And even though Zach Edey scored a crazy 37 points, the rest of the team was basically a non-factor. Meanwhile, UConn's offense was crashing the paint and making their shots. Not one player stood out since all of them contributed for the Huskies. UConn was the best team in the regular season, and fittingly, was the best team in March Madness. UConn dominated all of their opponents, Stetson, Northwestern, San Diego State, Illinois, Alabama, and Purdue, to win their 2nd straight championship. In their last 12 tournament games, they have won by 13 or more points, something that's never been done before. And the last team standing is Dan Hurley and UConn, winning national championship number 6. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at next year's March Madness.